Hello lovelies, thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you're watching this video now, it's probably because you watched the video I uploaded yesterday where I talk about why I had to step away from social media and what's been going on in my life right now. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest you go watch it because basically this series is all about what I talked about in that first video and, you know, my mental health and my self-care during this time that I talked about in that video. So pause this and go watch the other video. If you have watched the other video, then we can just pick it right up. Today was kind of a mixed bag of emotions. I got to my mom's house a little later than I usually do because I just needed more time. Like, honestly, for the last 3 days, I've just been to the point where it's like, I wish I could just say I'm not coming in today. I need a mental health day, but I can't do that because, you know, my mom is relying on me to help take care of my grandfather while she works. So I was late. I still got there in time to help get him ready to go to the doctor. He had a doctor's appointment, which apparently went well. I didn't get to go because I'm immune compromised. Have been immune compromised in the past. I was diagnosed with aplastic anemia in 2009, which is an immune compromised disease. Ideally, I'm in remission for 6 years now, so I'm not supposed to be immune compromised anymore, but I'm also not going to be the badass who runs out into the street without a mask on, breaking social distancing to test that theory. Aside from that, the hospitals, as some of you guys probably know, are only allowing one person in with their patients or one visitor in to see their patients because they just want to cut down on the number of germs that are possibly coming in and out, which I get, that makes sense. So I probably got to have an hour to myself, a bit of an hour worth of a break in the morning. Which, when the doctor's appointment was finally over, we got hit with another stressor that we really did not need. We have been having trouble with my grandfather's medical insurance covering medical bills that have to do with his broken leg. The story is long and convoluted, but here's the gist. My grandfather in 1994 ended up breaking his leg while he was looking at a house on another individual's property. What we think happened is that person had Allstate as their property insurance. And because my grandfather had broken his leg on that person's property, they filed a claim with Allstate. And apparently, that claim for 16 years never got resolved. So now my grandfather's primary form of insurance refuses to pay for anything having to do with a broken leg because they claim my grandfather has a policy with Allstate and that they are his primary source of insurance. My grandfather has never had Allstate as his insurance. These problems started popping up back in March, and my mom spent 3 days on the phone trying to find a way to get it resolved. We thought we had found a solution. Today we found out that that solution was bogus. Whoever told us that we could use statute of limitations to say, no, Allstate is not our primary caregiver, apparently was full of shit. Because to this day, Medicare is still, rejecting the medical bills, and nothing has changed. and people are starting to call for their money. So now it looks like we're going to have to get lawyers involved, which of course is going to cost even more, and it's going to be even more stress that we didn't need. This is why the government sucks. So, if you happen to work for Medicare and you can help us, please reach out to me. And if you happen to work for Medicare and you don't want to help us, then a pox on all your houses. I hope you have to deal with everything that you are putting us through sometime in your life. Anyway, this afternoon, my grandfather was evaluated by an occupational therapist that is with a home health care company that is helping us. Fortunately, Medicare is supposed to be paying for 100% of the services provided by that company. We'll see if that holds up. But we met with the occupational therapist, and this guy was perfect. And not just perfect in general, he was perfect for my grandfather. My grandfather actually flew for the Air Force during World War II, which, for those of you who don't know, back in that day, the Air Force was part of the Army before it became its own branch. And this occupational therapist that he had today retired from the Army. So they were just bonding over stories. This guy has called my grandfather a hero to him. He loves my grandfather. Which, that's always wonderful. We're not gonna, that's wonderful. And he's just a nice guy. So he kind of perked things up, which was nice. But by the end of the day, even with that, little light that we had, I was still just really getting in my head for a couple reasons. One, today was a bad day in terms of a job search. I wake up to an email from the university that I went to, that I've also applied to several jobs to, and that email tells me that one of the jobs I applied for, there was a lot of important information missing. I had applied for that job under the understanding that it was a full-time position that would go all year, and it would pay roughly $30,000 a year, which is the minimum I kind of need to move out of this apartment into an apartment that I can live on my own. Come to find out, it's a 9-month position that only pays around $21,000 a year. And none of this was mentioned in the initial job description that was posted. So that pissed me off, and I politely but firmly requested to have my application removed from the pool because this was not what I signed up for. Then a scammer posing as a headhunter called me and tried to get vital information out of me. And luckily I figured it out before I gave him, everything he needed. But nothing makes me angrier than people who take advantage of people who are going through rough times. There are so many people who are scared of unemployment or are unemployed and desperate to find jobs. And you have fucking people like that, taking advantage of those people. If you are one of those people, fuck you right up the butt. And then in the afternoon, I got a rejection letter for a job that I had honestly applied for back in March. A couple of jobs that I had applied for all the way back then, I think the search had to be put on hold because of the pandemic, obviously. So it wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even remember that I had applied for it. But it's another opportunity lost. So not a good day in terms of job hunting. And by the end of the day, I was just done with my grandfather and my mother. I did not have the patience for it anymore. I could not, put on the cheery guys and try to be the cheerful live-at-home nurse who never wanted to be there in the first place, but has no choice, apparently. I just made my disdain kind of clear, and I was honestly kind of passive-aggressive, which is childish, I know, but I really can't pretend like I'm okay with any of this anymore. And they are, well, okay, my mom is really trying to make sure that I know that I'm appreciated. She thanks me profusely every day. She reminds me that there's no way that she ever could have done this without me. Which is all well and good, but there comes a point where that just doesn't cut it anymore. Where it cannot make up for literally everything. It feels like they're pacifying me so that I don't just decide to up and leave randomly. Because one of these days I'm going to get to the point where I don't care if, other people's lives will be made harder if I leave. One of these days I'm just not going to give a damn because I will have completely run out of patience. And part of why I'm running out of patience so easily these days is because of how I sometimes feel like I'm treated. For the last, I'd say 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, my patience with my grandfather has been really short, and there's a simple reason for this. When he asks me to do something or to get him something, he does not say please when he asks for it. Sometimes he's nice and he would ask, like, could you get this for me? Other times he orders me. He's like, turn on the TV, grab this, give me that. Sometimes he doesn't even do that. Sometimes he just points at what he wants and expects me to get it for him, even though literally every day when we try to help him with stuff, he snaps at us and says, I can do it by myself. I'm perfectly capable. Apparently not, because you keep you keep pointing at us and telling us to get things that you could easily get yourself. And it really, honestly, in hindsight, my grandfather has never really said please when he has asked for things. He does say thank you when he gets what he wants. But he never says please. And as of 2 weeks ago, I started noticing it, and it has just started pissing me off. Because I feel like I am being treated like a slave and a servant, and I already don't want to be here. Throw on top of that I'm being disrespected and treated like a servant. My patience is really fucking low. And I have told him a million times, can you just say please? Can you just say please? If he forgets to do it, I'm like, what do we say? Like I have to take it back to when he was 5, and I feel like I have to reteach him. It's like, that's not fucking okay. And today I've noticed that my mom does it too. She doesn't say please. She will, her replacement for please is asking, can you do me a favor? And yeah, they say thank you. But there's a reason why we're taught please and thank you. It's not one or the other. You have to do both. And it's rude if you don't do one or the other. And I'm getting tired of it. Like I said, it's just, to add insult to injury, I already don't want to be here, and you're disrespecting me for doing something that I really honestly don't want to do anymore. But I'm doing it because that's what family is supposed to do. And I'm being honestly disrespected. And I fucking hate it. I hate it so fucking much. So, that's just kind of where I am today. Like I said, emotional roller coaster. We had a little bit of light at the beginning, and no, not at the beginning, in the middle of the day with the occupational therapist. Morning and afternoon, just really rough. Now that I'm back at the apartment and I'm kind of away from the situation, I might be able to relax and just kind of forget. In terms of like realizations with how I'm feeling, this morning I kind of woke up and I got into my head again. And I talked about how I'm not, to some extent, I have been trying to write narratives where my family is to blame. Today, I was focusing a lot on my sister. My sister lives clear on the other side of the country, and she has a family, and she has a job. Obviously, she cannot be here to help. My logical brain understands this. But my heart doesn't see her as a wife, a mother, a businesswoman, a homeowner. My heart just sees that she is also a grandchild. She is my grandfather's other grandchild. And if things were fair, we would be sharing the burden. And, we kind of going in shifts to help take care of him. But that's not the case. I am carrying 100% of the burden. And she doesn't have to do anything. She gets to stay home, keep going to her job, and keep, being there for her family and enjoying and having fun and, living her life, which honestly right now is perfect. And it feels really unfair that I have to take on all of the burden and I have to put my life on hold, but then she doesn't have to lift a finger to help. And again, logical brain understands there's nothing she can do. She can't, fly up here, put everything on hold to help. Logical brain gets that. Heart does not. I'm sure anybody who has siblings knows what it's like when you feel like your sibling is the favorite child of the parents. My sister and I both went through that. And honestly, when I found out that she thought I was the favorite child and why she thought I was the favorite child, I kind of came to a realization. For those of you who don't know about my history, I'm an artist. I'm an actor. I'm a creative. My sister is a science person. She's the person who loved school. She loved homework. She excelled at it. She had 4.0s every single goddamn semester. You could not stop the girl for nothing. So I thought that she was the favorite all my life because she got the good quality time with our parents. Meaning that when my parents spent time with her or talked about her or talked with her, it was almost never in a negative sense. She was never in trouble at school, barely ever, if anything. I think I can count on one hand how many times she's been in trouble with my parents. And, they bent over backwards to from my perspective, they bent over backwards to give her the perfect everything. You know, Dad got her a limo when she went to prom for the first time, which oddly enough she was a freshman. You know, she got the really big graduation party with a bunch of guests and a rented out venue and lots of presents and stuff like that. But from her perspective, I was the favorite child because Mom and Dad spent more time with me. Now, it wasn't a positive experience by any means. Mom and Dad had to spend more time with me because I had some emotional issues during school. There was not a day in first grade where I didn't come home crying. And honestly, sometimes I would cry at things that in hindsight they didn't matter, but when I was 6, they did. Somebody looked at me funny. They obviously didn't like me, so I would cry. I also struggled academically until I hit middle school. And honestly, I continued to struggle on the emotional level until I hit high school. So yeah, Mom and Dad had to spend more time with me because I was having a rougher time on the social and academic level. They didn't have to worry about her. You know, my sister was, perfectly fine. So it speaks to who we are as people. You know, she liked math. So obviously she thinks I'm the favorite because I got the quantity of time with our parents. I'm the creative. I like English and I like words. So obviously I thought that she was the favorite because from my perspective, the quality of time that she got with Mom and Dad was better. They weren't scolding her every day, dragging their feet through helping her with homework because it was just such a chore and constantly asking, what is wrong with you? They were praising her literally every day because they understood and they got her. My parents are science people too, so they're number in science people too, so they just get her more than they get me. So I understand that my parents do not play favorites with us. My mom loves us both equally, and my dad couldn't give less of a shit about us equally. But with everything that has the trajectory that both of our lives have been going at, I can't help but feel that she is someone's favorite kid. Whether you call it God, the universe, Buddha, Satan, I don't know. But it feels like the universe is favoring her over me. Because right now, she has got the most perfect life. Everything is pretty much going right for her. And nothing seems to be going right for me. And from a Christian standpoint, I'm not really religious that way, but from a Christian standpoint, I thought God wasn't supposed to have favorite children. He's got 7 billion of them. He doesn't really have time to play favorites. So why does she get literally everything she wants? And when I ask for just the smallest things, all I want is a job. And apparently that's too much to ask. Anyway, that's just kind of how I've been feeling today. Those are my realizations for the day. we will see what tomorrow brings. Tomorrow my grandfather has physical therapy with the same home healthcare company sometime in the afternoon, I think. I am going to just get into my comfy clothes, find some way to relax, and just try to find some joy today, because I've had a hard time finding it as of late. So, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you tomorrow.